Hey guys, Bridget here. In this video we're going to create the first part of this landing page from a UI kit that I found on UI 8 called Xora. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Alright, so let's get started with the basics, which is going to be creating the frame, which we're going to select right here, the desktop, and we're going to go with desktop since it's 1440 pixels of width, which is a great place to start for a desktop size website. Now we're going to rename it real quick to landing page, and we are also going to turn this into a dark color. The original is going to be this value right here, and if we click on the color section, you can see that this has a tone of blue. Now this is really important because if you just make the tone gray or pitch dark, you're not going to have the same vibe to the overall concept. So I always like to add a touch of blue, especially on backgrounds which are dark UIs or even drop shadows. Now there's going to be instances where I'm not going to do that, but as a general rule of thumb, I tend to basically go towards that direction. Now let's go on, and I'm going to add the very first element, which is going to be the features, and they're using Poppins, which is a free Google web font. So you can simply type in Poppins in Google and you can find it right away. We're going to make this semi-bold. Let's increase the size just a little bit. And before we move on, one important element which I always like to add to any web design project that I'm doing, especially at the beginning, is the layout grid. So I'm going to select the layout grid and I'm going to turn this into columns. We're going to add 12 columns, and as you can see at the moment it's barely visible. So what we're gonna do is we're going to make these white. 10% I think it's a good area of transparency. More is going to be distracting, less it's going to be barely visible. So let's keep it to 10. And let's increase the margin just a little bit so that we can have some space on the sides. Let's bring this one here, and I think overall we're quite close to the original. I think the original had 16 pixels. And we're going to add another text element, which is going to be the pricing. And we're going to add a circle in between, just like that. Let's select both of these, or actually all of these elements, and use the distribute horizontal spacing. We're going to make this of a color which is probably going to be around this blue tint right here, and that is going to be a good base. I'm going to group this. I'm going to duplicate it on the right side. I'm going to change this to FAQ, and this other one is going to be download. Oops. And here we go. Let's select these again, distribute horizontal spacing, and we have the base for the header. Now what we're missing is the actual logo, so we're going to go ahead and add the logo right here. Now in the original design we have auto layout, which we can absolutely introduce, especially since this one is going to be fairly straightforward. So I'm going to ungroup this previously made group. I'm going to use Shift+A in order to add the auto layout, and I'm going to do the same also here, auto layout. And the way that we're doing this is essentially we're grouping the elements which are nested within a group, and then we're going to select all of these and Shift+A, and we have these nicely tidied up in the auto layout. Now it's time to continue. So I'm going to simply copy this, click outside the auto layout so that it won't copy inside, which it did, but I'm simply dragging it out, or you can do that from the layers panel. And I'm going to write video editing, and I'm probably going to duplicate this just to have another text layer in just a moment. And let's increase the space of the letters in between, and we're going to change the color so that it matches a color somewhat somewhat around these lines. I'm going to write amazingly simple, which is going to be the main headline. So I'm going to increase the size dramatically on this one. I'm going to make it stack like that, and we're going to go with probably, I think the original was extra bold. Just going to double check. Yeah, that's correct. And as you can see, quite big. We can even decrease the letter spacing just a little bit to really create that compact look, and really maximizing the amount of space that we have in the main layout. I'm going to duplicate this again, and I'm going to add the original text, which didn't copy, of course, because I didn't select the right Figma channel. And I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to make 0 on this spacing, and let's increase the size quite a bit. Okay, so this is matching quite well the original design. And now we're going to go ahead and add a button. Now the button, if we take the original, which because I want to show you the nuances behind this really well-crafted button. So basically what's going on is, first of all, if I just detach the instance, it's on auto layout. There is the base, which is a linear, and linear gradient like this. And then we have this linear stroke. So the stroke at the top, you can see that creates this highlight effect, which is subtle, but makes the button look more embossed. So we're going to copy the style using Option Alt and Command, and then I'm going to use Option Alt Command V. So first Option Alt Command C, and then Option Alt Command V. And we have the styles. Now on top of that, there are 2 drop shadows. The most prominent one is this one right here. So as you can see, a drop shadow which has a tint of blue into it, so that it's going to create this nice contrast in the section. Now we're also going to add the original text. So let's do that. Nothing too complicated. It's poppins in bold with this color right here, which is quite vibrant overall. Let's make it just a little bit smaller. And the goal here is not really to duplicate it and replicate it pixel by pixel. It's I just want to show you like the base. This one is an illustration in and of itself. So it's simply an icon with this 2 elements right here, which are really easy to replicate. The icons, you can find it from one of the bazillion icon resources out there. So that's really, there's no shortage of icons on the internet. And then this element, which again is going to be within the auto layout. So yeah, this is looking pretty good. So as you can see, as we dissect these elements, it's not as overwhelming as we might believe at first. So we can make this into an auto layout, turn this once again in an auto layout, and we have the button. Now let's move on to a very important part, which is going to be the actual background. So if I go ahead and grab the background, and I'm going to bring this hero image right below, since otherwise the glow is going to basically glow on top of this this element. And we have a really nice composition. I'm going to lock this into place, otherwise due to the amount of space it's taking, it's going to basically override and be easily selectable. So I like to lock layers whenever they start to become quite big and prominent in the canvas. And now let's move on to the very next section, which is going to be this one right here. So let's go ahead and I'm simply going to grab part of the original, or actually let's create the rectangle first, since that really is the base for this element. And I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of roundedness to the corners. And I'm going to copy the style. So this style right here, really nice. Again, just a simple gradient. As you can see, the gradient colors are more light than the background in order to create that division and almost that 3D effect of one layer on top of the other. So quite useful. And also the stroke, lighter again, as you can see, this stroke, which is not even a gradient, just adds a little bit of division and adds that premium feeling to it, since it's quite subtle, but you can still see it, and adds a more visual variety, let's say, to the composition. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this text element. I'm going to bring it here. We're going to write in the text decrease the size. Oops. I'm going to increase the line height, and also make this medium instead of extra bold. And at this point we're probably going to add it here. It's also a good time to add a divider line, which we can then remove just for the sake of the composition. At the moment I think this is a nice integration. Let's increase the size just a little bit of the text, and we're going to grab this element, easy integrations. And we're going to also go ahead and add some text below. Okay, let's actually need to copy this. Okay, that'll work. Let's make it just a little bit smaller. And we're going to also copy the button that we just created, and we're going to write in watch the demo. For some reason the out layout didn't catch up, so you can easily fix it manually, not a big deal. We're also going to change the icon. So let's remove the previous one. We have this nice icon on the side. Perfect. Now at this point what we're going to do is we're going to add the top icon, which is this one right here. And again, let's just take a moment to dissect what's going on. So overall, pretty simple. We have a line icon right here, which is a stroke at 15% of this color, the same exact color and transparency is applied for the outer ellipse. Then we have this background ellipse, which is going to set the base for this one, which is colored, together with the exact same background icon that we have over here, and a nice icon which you can find on places like Noun project, for example. So if I write in spinner, yeah, well, it's going to find all sorts of different icons, but you can see how you can find all sorts of different icons on Noun project. Then you can drag and drop it, you know, change the color, and you're gonna be good to go. So that's the first one, and then let's go ahead and basically duplicate all of this on the right side, and we are going to write in secure and trustworthy. Let's copy this text as well. Actually, since it's slightly a different style, I'm simply going to type it in. I'm going to basically do the same for this ones right here. I'm going to say read the docs, and I'm going to copy this icon here, remove the previous one, and we have a slight different icon on this other version. So I'm simply going to go ahead and basically change it, just like that. Okay, cool. Now, instead of the divider, what we're gonna do is we're going to change the background color of this one to be slightly lighter, so we can create that visual differentiation that is going to add more visual interest to the composition. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to copy and paste the original background, bring it all the way here. So here the divider line was useful. We don't need it any longer, so bye-bye. And I'm going to double click on this element, and I'm going to reduce the radius all the way to 0%. And I'm going to add just a little bit of a lighter tint to this second area. So if we temporarily make these non-visible, you can see that we created this level of visual interest for this second section, which is looking quite good. And let's just we make the typography just a little bit smaller, and that will do. Okay, now we're not done with this section, since it's going to basically require a section below it as well. So I'm going to duplicate this, Command C, Command V, very easy. I'm going to also bring this guy all the way down so that you can basically avoid having to see these corners end up the way they are doing. And I'm going to essentially create 4 different sections. Now, very first one is going to be this one right here, and I'm simply going to ballpark the sections for the time being. Then I'm going to essentially go ahead and refine these. Now let's go ahead over here, and let's be going to copy the textiles, and we can create this into an auto layout. So that's just what I did, and I'm going to duplicate this just a few times. Let's bring maybe this one all the way over here, and I'm going to distribute horizontally, group it together, center it, and I'm going to copy this text, paste it. I'm going to do the same also for these other ones. We have the last. And let's center it right here. Alright, now I'm going to copy and paste the style of these ellipses. So as you can see, let's take a moment as always to dissect what's going on. Very simple. You have this linear gradient with these colors right here, and it's very subtle for the very most part. What adds this level of depth to this element is the inner shadow, which is a cool trick that, as you can see, it's going to make it almost as a sphere or as a button in 3D. So this definitely helps overall to really create that depth and really create that effect. And on top of that, what they did is they applied 2 drop shadows. The first one being more like close to the actual ellipse, so as you can see it's more intense, while the other one is more of a bigger blur. So you can create that 3-dimensional effect by adding multiple drop shadows and effects on top of it. So I'm going to use Option Command C and Option Command V to these other ones as well, and we have the base for continuing. Now I'm going to go ahead and also add the original icon, which, as you can see, since it's an auto layout, it's not going to work. One thing that you can do is to absolute position this. So we bring it over here, maybe make it just a little bit bigger, and again in the region we change it slightly from the original, so there's going to be a little bit of that visual difference, but overall, if you operate in this sense, it's not going to be that prominent of a difference. Now let's go ahead and going to do the same also for these guys. Let's increase the size just a bit, and let's do the same for this element. Absolute positioning, increase the size, and yeah, we're good to go. Now at this point we just need to change the background color, so I'm going to copy the style and use this darker tone. Now as you can see, since in our case we did have these elements below, I'm simply going to crank up the transparency all the way, and we are good to go. Now at this point, one thing which we're still missing is going to be the lines which go all the way across these elements, and going to basically make them like this. And maybe you can even make it more light, and even just a little bit bigger, maybe 1.5 pixels. That could be quite interesting. Let's bring it all the way below, and now that I'm re-looking at it, be just a little bit darker, and also apply some to the bottom section. Right. Oops. I'm going to try and make it a little bit more transparent. Now we can duplicate it, Command D for the other ones, and as I just noticed, they're not perfectly aligned, so I'm simply going to do that real quick. I'm going to duplicate this element, switch it over here, bring it on the side, and we are in a good position. Now, one extra touch that we can give to this is to add also a background. Again, let's make it like that. I'm going to make it just a little bit opaque so they can see what's going on. And now I'm going to make the fill completely dark, and add a stroke, which is going to have the same color as these elements right here. Actually, let's increase the opacity, otherwise we won't see anything. Let's add the stroke. We're going to make the fill like that. Cool. This is looking pretty nice. Maybe the stroke can be even darker, so it doesn't really take up that much visual emphasis. And we can do the same also for these elements. You can add them within this other auto layout, or simply have them all go below. Let's bring them below, and let's do the same for this one, and also this guy right here, which we're going to add in the auto layout. And yeah, overall I'd say we are at a good point. We're probably going to continue in a next video, since I have a client call coming up soon. I wish that I've done this faster, but yeah, as you can see, there's so many nuances and such an amazing attention to detail when it comes to this landing page that you really can't rush things. So when it comes to these more premium and skeuomorphic-ish designs, you really need to pay attention to the details and think through the 3D aspects of the composition. Now, I really hope that this video was helpful, and if you wanted to see more videos, I have an entire YouTube channel where I'm sharing my decade of experience as a designer working in UI UX primarily. In YouTube channel, I'm also very active on Twitter, where I share daily tips and work in progress of actual client projects, or at least the ones that I don't have an NDA with. And yeah, so I'll see you in the very next video.